Love is possible.
Good evening, and welcome to Here's the Life right here at Intellectual Radio with Zemrah and Ed. Ed. And we are just over the top because we have, uh, I'm going to say a young lady, no, but we have a wonderful, wonderful lady that is joining us, Billie Jean Gray. Who fits my philosophy of age is nothing but a number. As long as you can walk, talk, and breathe, keep it moving. And we just say that she fits that description because she is 86 years old and has a book coming out this month in June.
Yeah, we got to make
And it's a memoir on race, resilience, loss, and faith. And it's from a woman who lived the history of others that we have only read about. So that is really, really, really exciting. And we are awfully excited to have her joining us. We're going to reach out for her about in the next 10 minutes. But meanwhile, just want to give you a little update on some of the stuff that I've been doing. Working on my upcoming concert, our Here's the Life concert number 9, and it's going to be so fine. Back at South Suburban College, I was very, very happy with South Suburban. The room is intimate, very, very nice, and God always guides you and show you the way to go, and He did for that. So we're pretty happy about that, don't you think, Ed?
Excellent venue.
Yeah, and plus the people that are working with us is so wonderful, so nice, and I'm so happy about that. And it is October 17th. Of course, always on Sweetest Day, and that's what we love for lovers and just to come out and enjoy a warm group of people that love contemporary jazz and music. And we have some wonderful musicians. I'm excited, so excited, because I have my Tony Carpenter joining us this year. I've been on percussions. He's been on our concert several times, and I always wind up getting him kind of late. But this year, I got my man, and we are so excited about that. And then we have our awesome Corey Wilkes when he said he was available, and it's been too long, as he put it. So I'm so excited about that as well. And then our other musicians will let you know who's coming. We got Reverend Ozzie Smith joining us again on sax. So that we've got a nice, wonderful group of musicians doing it for you. And I'm just so excited. And we have a surprise host for you coming up, and we will share that with you. We started out early, Wilda and I. And our team started out early. Well, basically, right now, Wilda and I pulling everything together, and then Wida, who does, our marketing and all of that, and just starting out early so we can make sure that number 9 is really, really fine. It's going to the VIP. It's going to be. We're taking it a notch up. It's just going to be wonderful, and I am absolutely looking forward to doing it for you. So we're going to have our tickets ready early this year, probably by um, late July, if not a little earlier. And then another thing that we're excited about, we are doing, because so many people have been asking, we are doing Zemrah's Christmas extravaganza concert. And oh, is it going? And it's Zemrah's Christmas extravaganza in red. So everybody will step out in red.
And that's when?
That is December 11th, and it's at the Oakland Hilton. We had our show there, a holiday show in 23. So we have been having people asking, so we said we bring it for 26, and that we will do.
We're gonna love that one.
Yeah. So it's just I haven't been doing a lot this year as far as entertainment. Been doing some things, working on myself, and just kind of pulling everything together. So I can be really on top of everything, as I always try to be for my concert, because that is major. And coming into number 10, which I'm so proud of. I mean, in 2011, when I first gave my concert, it was shouted out in the audience, Zemrah, you need to do this annually. And that is what we decided to do that evening. And this is number 10, with the pandemic, kind of throwed some things off. And so we didn't do it but everything is always right on time. And it always happens when it's supposed to happen. And for that, we're grateful and just keep it moving right along.
10 is going to be the big one.
Oh, 10 is going to be smoking and no joking. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We were looking at the Obama Center and we, talked with them and got some information. But we might wind up doing the Logan Center. We're still kind of weighing it and seeing, but we'll see, and we will keep you posted. If we can work that out, we certainly will. But if not,
sounds good. If we can work that out.
Yeah, if we can work it out, that would be wonderful. But it'll be kind of, with it being, they got their opening in a few days, and I'm sure that's going to be wonderful. But we're going to wait until it kind of dies down as far as going to check it out. They had set up something for me to come and check it out. So we'll see. And we'll play it by ear. And however it's meant to be, we'll make it happen. Price. Well, we'll see. We don't want to nickel and dime nobody because, hey, it is what it is. And you got to play with the big boys if you want to go there now. So we'll see. We will see. And again, like I said, if it's meant to be, it will be, and we will do it. So we got about 2 minutes before we contact, Miss Gray, but we are so excited about her, back to her, because she is an absolute joy. She has come out and supported me, and I just love and appreciate that. We were at an event, and she was there, and she had on this sharp dress. And when she walked past me, I said, "I love your dress. You look so lovely." And then she said, "Thank you." And then she went and went aside for a moment. She came back. She said, "Zemrah," and I said, "Yes." And she said, "I come to your shows and everything. I just love you." And she said that she had to go ask because she didn't want to feel, feel foolish, like she was saying Zemrah and be wrong on that. But I told her yes. So then when she shared with me about her book she had written and all of that, and the way I was looking at her, and that's when I told her that you fit the description of my philosophy to a T. And she truly does.
I said she's a poster child for motto.
Yeah, she really is. And she's going to be one of our awardees this year. I told her I have to do that because she is truly, she's just on it. And, when she shares with us, she's a grief counselor. She just does so much. She's in education. And I am going to read her bio, but I kind of wanted to do it when she got on the phone.
She has a book coming out too. Right?
That's what I just said. That's why we've got her on. Ed, what bus was you on? Where were you been? That's what we were talking about. That's what we having on, baby.
You mentioned the book.
No, I did. I said she's written a memoir.
What's the name of it?
Heart Endures.
That's what I missed.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say that. Come to think about the heart. Okay. I said she's written a memoir.
On the title.
Yeah. But I said she'd written a memoir of race, resilience, loss, and faith. And it's from a woman who lived the history of others that we've only read about, but she's lived it. So that's what's so phenomenal. So we're going to call her in a moment, and we'll be right back. Again, you're here with Ed and Zemrah right here at Intellectual Radio. We'll see you in a moment.
Love is possible when you believe that it is. Love is possible when you know that it is. When you feel like there's no hope for love, you can make your dreams come true. If you know just what to do, you just think. Love is possible when you believe that your Love is possible when you embrace it with ease. Everything you want is yours for the asking. Love is possible when you believe that it is. Don't give in, and don't you doubt. Believe me, you
Okay, we're back here at Intellectual Radio with Zemrah and Ed, and we have the lovely Miss Billie Jean Gray online. And we're so glad that you're here joining us, Billie.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored to be asked to share part of my story and to interact with you and Ed. Thank you so much.
Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, I wanted to wait until you were on the phone. We've been talking a lot about you, but I wanted to read your bio while you were on the phone and
Okay.
just share some of that with you. And excuse me, Billie Jean Gray is an educator, a mentor, a workshop facilitator, and grief recovery specialist whose life and work have been rooted in service advocacy and healing. A lifelong champion for justice and opportunity. She has spent decades mentoring young people, who she is a very, very much a supportive young people, supporting communities and helping others navigate grief, resilience, and personal transformation. Over the course of her distinguished career, Billie served as a social worker for the Cook County Department of Public Aid, classroom teacher for elementary students and students with learning differences, and assistant superintendent for the Chicago public school system, and a national educational consultant and trainer. Her leadership and commitment to equity, have impacted countless lives across education, community engagement, and personal development. Today, Billie continues to teach grief recovery classes, facilitate workshops, and serve as a trusted mentor to individuals seeking hope and healing after loss. Through the Heart Endures, she shares not only her story, but also a message of courage, faith, perseverance, and enduring power of love. Billie lives in the Hyde Park neighborhood of Chicago, a community she treasures for its richness, diversity, and vibrant spirit. She is in a book club discussion, speaking. She's available for book club discussions, speaking engagements, workshops, interviews, or special events. So this is our author on the phone, 86 years old, Miss Billie Jean Gray. Billie.
Thank you.
Yes, and her book, The Heart Endures. And so, first, what we want to ask you is your inspiration, and you were very inspiring to me. But of course, what we have a lot to cover. But what was your inspiration, first of all, in taking this journey and your true mission for writing this book, The Heart Endures?
My motivation for writing The Heart Endures was my son. I had been sharing with him through his years some of the civil rights involvements that I was doing. And he kept saying, Mom, you need to tell your story. And I said, well, Tim, we all have a story to tell. And he said, well, let them tell theirs too, but you need to tell yours. So this is in memory of Tim. When I went to Atlanta to visit him, that's where he lives, in 2014, he had set up for us to for him to interview me by StoryCorps. Mm-hmm. StoryCorps is the independent nonprofit organization that will archive your stories. Okay. And I was hesitant. I kept saying, well, Tim, it's far out and we'll have to get up early. But he was so insistent. He said, no, I want to do this. So we were in a booth and he had questions which he wouldn't tell me ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
But he said he wanted to focus on two of my historic events. And I was so happy that I agreed to do the interview because he did not live to read this book. He died 2 years later. But
Wow.
that was my motivation for writing the book.
Wow. And that I know that just really and truly took you for a loop when that happened.
Yes,
And then it
yes,
probably through reflection and by you being into the grief counseling and reflecting, you probably just that's probably just filled your heart even more. And
yes.
then I want to talk about your let's talk about the book. I know it's a Black woman born under Jim Crow who was never meant to live. So just tell us a little bit about that because that was very when you shared that was very interesting. And then how you survived a lot of medical odds through the racial terror and silence, which was kind of difficult. Well, not kind of difficult. And then
Right.
being a young woman who was a civil rights trailblazer before the nation was even ready. So just kind of
Yes.
share some of that with us because that is part of how the heart endures.
Well, I wanted to give a little bit about where I was born and raised. I was born in Kentucky.
Okay.
Of course, it was the Jim Crow of the South. I was born in 1939, which was right at the end of the Depression and the beginning of World War II. I was born with a heart defect, and they used to call it blue babies. And the doctors told my parents that I probably would not live past the age of 12 if I lived that long.
Wow.
And so much of my early life was under the cloud of that I could die at any time.
Wow.
I was living with my maternal grandparents at the time, and I wasn't allowed to go to school. I wasn't allowed to run, jump, and play or do any of the things that, quote, normal children did. And because we were in the small town of Hardingsburg, Kentucky, which had about 930 people and it was 96% white, nobody knew what to do with this child. I mean, where would you take her for help? And so they just put every effort they could into trying to keep me alive. My memory, one of my memories I would like to share about Hardingsburg was when, as a young child of 5, I saw the Klan burning across from my grandparents' house. And I was not supposed to get excited. That was part of the heart thing. So I didn't know what was happening. And my grandfather was a teacher, and he was a paper hanger. And most of his clients were white. So we were always told when the Klan was going to burn right across from where we lived. And we had certain things as a child. Now think about a child about 5 who we had to, our ritual was lock the doors, stay in the house, pull the shades down, and get in the middle of the floor in case there was a shooting. Well, I, of course, in my curiosity, didn't know what was going on. And once I asked my grandfather if I could peek out the window. So he let me, and I saw people marching. I thought it was a parade. That's the innocence of a child's eyes. And I asked my grandfather, well, why can't we go to the parade? And so, of course, they didn't say anything. And I saw the hooded people. And that memory is as vivid today as it was then. So we would always have to wait until we heard the chanting stop. And then we would, act our normal selves. And my grandmother always read the Bible. And my grandfather was pretty calm about most things. But that racism that we were facing mixed with them trying to deal with a fragile child was really a lot.
I can imagine. And you said you were like 5?
I was 5 at that time, around 5, 5 and a half, right.
Wow, that is something.
This is great. This is Ian. How do you think your condition, about your medical condition, how did it affect how it affect you growing up and how you saw life?
Well, I couldn't live a normal life. I was, in the book, I always say I was treated like a porcelain doll that could break at any time.
Mm.
I couldn't run, I couldn't play because I would get excited. I couldn't be around a lot of people. I didn't even go to school until I was 7. So it affected that. But at age, and it's a long process, at age 11, I went to Mayo Clinic and had the surgery to repair that heart. And my journey, even from Paducah, where I was living in Paducah at the time, to Mayo Clinic is in itself one of resilience because we had no place to stay as we were driving. We had no place to eat. And when I saw the movie, The Green Book, it was every bit my life in my parents trying to find a way to get their child healed.
Mm. So with the Mayo Clinic, so you went there and had the procedure, the surgery
Yes,
done, and then
yes,
after that, then you were able to proceed on as a normal child.
yes.
And that, so the Mayo Clinic, now they've made some changes now as far as appointments, as far as insurance. So that was a blessing back there. I mean, a real one, because as of now, if you can't even pay out of your pocket. Like if you have
Wow.
like if you have Medicare, you
Mm-hmm.
can you can't you have to, like, if you have, I should say, if you have Medicare, it's fine. But if you have, which a lot of people do have, if they have the Medicare Advantage plans like Ed and I have us because I'm an insurance agent also. I put us on the Humana plan. But now if you have the Humana plan, they will not approve that for you to be able, and even with the PPO, you cannot go to the Mayo Clinic. And so I said, well, then, so what happens as far if a person wants to pay out of your pocket? So you cannot. If you don't have just straight Medicare, then they will not. There's nothing they can do. And I was really, I was really taken by that. So for you to be able to do that back in those days, and they be able to do surgery and all, that was a real blessing for you.
And it really was a blessing. And I talk about it in the book. Well, first of all, I have United Healthcare, Medicare, PPO Advantage.
Yeah.
And you're right. I've lost some of the benefits that I did have. In the book, I was 11, so I had no idea how my parents paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had to not only pay for the surgery, they had to pay for us to stay in Minnesota, to drive there and back. And only my father was working at the Tennessee Valley Authority at the time. He was the first Black, to my recollection, to get hired there. And my mother wasn't working at all. So I don't have, to this day, I have no idea how they paid for it.
Wow. But the blessing is they did it, and you're a living testimony.
That
That's the
is the
blessing,
blessing.
because you have
That
so
is
much to offer, and you have so much to offer. So that's really a blessing. So I have been so before we go any further, we want to know right now, when does the book come out?
The book is supposed to come out June 14th.
Okay.
Which was on the date that my son passed in 2016.
Oh, wow. That is wonderful. Wow. I know he smiles down on you, Billy. He's
All the
got
time.
to.
All the time.
I know he
Yeah.
does. That is just so wonderful.
Celebration of life.
It is. Here's the life. That's what I say. Here's the
Yes.
life. And
Yes.
speaking, so what are there? What other experiences, have you gone through that would be good for you to share with us? As far as
Well, I would like to share two briefly. One is integrating my high school in Paducah.
That's what I want you to do.
And my integrating the dorm at the University of Kentucky.
Please share how you went about that.
Well, we moved, when I went from my grandparents to live with my parents, we moved to Paducah. They were living in Paducah.
Okay.
And my father was teaching, and my mother was a homemaker and a socialite in her own way. I was going to a high school that I absolutely loved. It was Lincoln. In Paducah, the junior high and high were all in one building. And in ninth grade, I went to Lincoln High. I loved it so much. Now, we had books after the white high school. Tillman got finished with them. We had furniture after the Tillman High School finished with that. But that did not bother us, because what we did have, we had teachers who loved us, who wanted the best for us, teachers who lived in our community and went to church that we did. So none of us wanted to leave Lincoln to integrate Tillman. I called myself Miss Popularity because I was one of the youngest ever voted Miss Homecoming by popular vote. So there was nothing about Lincoln that I didn't love. Fast forward to one day, my dad calls me in the living room and told me that he wanted to talk to me. Well, I couldn't figure that I had done anything, but I said, okay, what is it? He told me that he wanted me to go to Tillman, that they were going to do a desegregation project in Paducah, and he wanted me to be one of the students to go. So I thought he was joking, because he knew how much I loved Lincoln. So I said, why am I going? He said, well, he was the vice president of NAACP. And he said, I can't ask somebody else to send their child somewhere if I'm not willing to send mine. So in 1956, I call them the Paducah Six of us left our beloved Lincoln and went to Tillman, where we were unwanted and unwelcomed and unaccepted. We were a year before the Little Rock Nine, and nobody has actually really heard about us. They were in 1957 when they integrated Central High. We were before Ruby Bridges, whom I just met 2 years ago, because she was in 1960. But the Paducah Six never got the recognition, and that's the other motivation for me to write the book and why my son pushed it. And I think we didn't because we didn't have newsworthy drama. There were no hoes and dogs and politicians blocking doors and parents calling names, but it was painful emotionally, and that never really did get out. And a lot of things, which I won't go into, happened during those 2 years. We went in as juniors, and all 6 of us were honor students.
Wow.
Right.
That is really something.
So it's great.
Yes.
So how did this shape you into your advocacy in politics and social movement?
Well, my father he was always, I would say, a trailblazer and a person who fought for social justice, because he was, the NAACP had to file grievance or complaint with the Tennessee Valley Authority, which was a government company, to get him hired as an engineer. So this was more in his blood, I think, than mine. But I saw 2 things about Lincoln, and I said to my dad, I said, I'm getting a good education at Lincoln. The books may be old, the furniture may be old, but my teachers are good. And he agreed that I did not go to Tillman for better teaching. I went to Tillman because there was a system that needed to be challenged. And my father felt that I needed to be one of the people to do that.
Because like always, in order to the toughest jobs, we have to send our best, and you were among the best.
Yeah,
And
that's what her father saw in her.
Right. And the teachers that we left at Lincoln, it was both sides actually had issues. Our teachers at Lincoln were upset because integration wasn't reciprocal, where some of us would go to Tillman and some of Tillman's brightest would come to Lincoln. So it was like, I called it a brain drain, although it was a small one, that Lincoln was losing some of its best. So as much as integration may have done in some ways, in other ways, I think there was always an unfairness, especially the way the schools were desegregated.
And it seems like I
It continues.
It does. It's continued right today.
Mm-hmm.
I just cannot understand the hatred and the discord, and I just don't understand any of that. We are such a loving and wonderful people. And I just don't understand where that mind comes from. So many they want to emulate us and they want to be us. So
Right,
I will
right.
never really understand that. I just can't. And it's still today. That's what's so critical. We're still going through these type of changes, and it's mind blowing. It's frustrating. I just don't get it. But anyway, and then we want to talk about young people, your love and
Right.
your spirit when it comes to young people. Pam is like that too, about
Okay.
young people and how they just need the guidance and to know and to understand more things, and that people understand them. So just tell us how you've worked with some of the young people, Billy.
Can I share a little bit about the University of Kentucky first?
Absolutely, sweetie. That's what you're here for. Absolutely.
Because, well, after graduating 2 years at Tillman, when they told us we couldn't go to this one, I'm going to share a little bit. It's in the book. When the Tillman, nobody was ready for this integration. There's a difference in going into a place and just adding diversity. There's a difference than going into a place by law and be forced to do so.
Absolutely.
And with Tillman, it was desegregating a system that was totally segregated, which was different to me than the law may allow you to integrate. Nobody has just done it. But we were forcing a law. So there were many hurtful things before I leave Tillman. One of the worst was the lack of planning that Tillman did around us when we were going to become seniors.
Oh.
There was the senior dinner is the example I'll use. The senior dinner was being held at the Irving Cobb Hotel, which, of course, in the 1956 or 58, did not have any blacks except those that worked there, and they had to come in the back door. So the hotel said that we could not come to the senior dinner. And this is in the book. And the principal called us in the office and asked us if we would mind not going to the senior dinner. And we said we would have to ask our parents and get back to them. Because as juniors, they told us not to come to the prom, and we said, okay. So we told our parents. My dad went and talked to the principal and said, no, they need to participate in all the senior activities. You all knew you had black students when you made the agreement with the Irving Cobb Hotel. So then the compromise was we could come to the dinner, but we would have to eat in a separate quarters close to where the help ate. And the NAACP said, no, that's not going to happen either, because either they will eat with their classmates or we're going to have a protest. Now, Paducah had boasted about how peacefully they had integrated, because the things that they did were subtle. So you would think it was peaceful. And it was in terms of they didn't call us names and all that. Now, they ignored us a lot and graded us unfairly, but that was different. So the NAACP said, no, we're going to go on and hold a protest, and we will ask the other organizations from around the state to come. So the hotel agreed with the understanding that the school would say this was a one-time occurrence, that they did not allow Blacks in there as customers. And the most touching thing about that evening wasn't that we got to eat with our classmates. That was okay. When the waiters, who were all Black, came to wait on us, they would bend down and say, we are so proud of you. And that was actually worth the entire fight.
Absolutely. That
Now,
is.
now this is the kind of conversation young people need to hear.
It is.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the only people that have actually heard this are the Black students at the University of Chicago, but a lot of others need to hear it. So I left Tillman as fast as I could go and wanted so badly to go to Fisk. So I had applied to Fisk and I had gotten accepted. And then I noticed that my dad, again, wasn't saying very much. My mother and I were happy. She wanted me to be AKA, so she really wanted me to go to a Black college. And my dad told me that he wanted me to go to the University of Kentucky. And again, I said, why? And he said, you're a trailblazer, and one day you will understand. Well, I told him that the University of Kentucky did not, they took Black students. They'd been taking them for years, but they did not stay on campus. They either had to stay in the town of Lexington or they had to board somewhere else. So he said, I know you will be one of the first to stay on campus. And I said, I think I've trailblazed enough. But he said, no, you'll be fine. So September of 1958, 3 African-American young ladies, myself and 2 others, one from Paducah, we had gone to high school together, and one from Louisville, Kentucky, were the first to stay on campus as undergraduates at the University of Kentucky. Now, the good part of that was they put 2 of us in one room and gave us a big private room with a bath and everything, and told us not to use the public thing with the other girls.
Right.
In other words, don't shower with the white girls.
Well, you was fine with that.
They gave
cool.
the other, they gave Jane a private room, and she had everything too. So the funny, and I say this in the book, when the white girls would ask, a few of them initially, how much do we have to pay extra to get a private room? And we said, wait, there's no charge. All you have to do is be a Negro.
Now, that's something. We're laughing, but that was something there. But that was like you said, that was the good part of it. But then when you look at it, following the path that your father, like he said, you'll be okay. So following the path and honoring what he wanted you to do, it all worked out. Sometimes that's why young people, it is important to listen to your parents, because and when they tell you that it's all right, they already know ahead of time that it's going to be all right. So he already knew that you would be fine. And plus you were smart.
But well, of course I did. And I disliked every part about the University of Kentucky. But I learned I learned one significant thing there, and it was painful, but it was a good lesson. I was majoring in Spanish, so I joined the Foreign Students Organization. And the difference in how the foreign students were treated then and how we were treated was very hurtful. They could still go into the town of Lexington and go to the movies. They could go to the restaurants. They could go do all the things that we couldn't do. And it was very hard for them to understand why I couldn't do what they did, because they were looking at the color of the skin rather than systemic racism against African Americans. And no matter how hard I tried to explain, I cannot go with you. And they came up, when I spoke to some of the foreign students at the University of Chicago, I used this example, this story. They were saying, well, you speak Spanish, just act like you're one of us. Then I had to explain to them the passing law. I could go to jail or worse. So that was very painful. And then one day, and I'm not going to tell all of this because it's in the book, one of the foreign students went into town. They sent a letter. This is how humiliating it was, to the foreign students, saying, when you go into the town of Lexington, wear your National Guard and carry your student ID so that you will not be mistaken for a Negro.
What, really?
This was the South. I mean, this was 1958 in Kentucky.
You lived it. You right. You lived something we just read.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to be able to tell my story. And I won't tell all about what happened, but one day one of the Hindu students went into town without his garb and without his identification. And the rest you can read in the book, what happened to him.
Wow.
The other thing about the University of Kentucky, and then I'll move from that, I called it Hungry Sundays because we couldn't eat in any of the restaurants around there. Our cafeteria closed at 1 o'clock on Sunday. So the 3 black students had nowhere to eat. We could have gone into the town of Lexington, but it was far, and we would have had to have taken the bus. So I had 3 options for getting food on Sunday evening. I could ask a white friend to bring me something back when they went. I could ask a foreign student to bring me something back when they went. Or I could go stand outside of the restaurant and be given food from the back door. So I called them Hungry Sundays.
Now, are the 2 people that were with you, where are they at now?
One is deceased. She came back for the 25th reunion for Tillman, and the other one is still living in Louisville. As a matter of fact, I had written part of this in the Hyde Park Herald, and somehow she saw it, and she is still living. She didn't come back the second year at the University of Kentucky. I didn't want to come back. I told my dad I was leaving after the first year because it was just too much. So I applied to Fisk again. Fisk really should give me an honorary degree as many times as I tried to get into Fisk. And so they accepted me again. And my dad said, no, you're going to go back to the University of Kentucky. So I was there for 2 years. And then I came. Then that was really enough. And he didn't say anything. Then I came to Roosevelt here. And I loved it as much as I loved my high school Lincoln.
Oh, that was the blessing. And what year did you come and go to Roosevelt?
I went in Roosevelt from 60 to 62.
Okay.
Right.
So I love this one. It says, this is not just one woman's story. It is an American history remembered.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is.
And this book is I can't wait to for that book to come out. That's going to be very rewarding. I mean, it really, to me, we cannot forget. We cannot forget.
No,
because it's still happening. So we have to make sure that we keep that in the forefront because, I mean, we just have to. And we have to remember that when we make mistakes and we do things that are out of order, we have to remember what people like you have gone through. We have to.
Not only they're about to take the books out of the library. It's not just not being able to remember, but they're erasing much of what, if stories like mine don't even get in the book, It will never be told. And even if they get in the book, we have to hope that the book survives.
Yes, that's right.
It doesn't matter. It's going to get out anyway because nothing stops us.
That's true. That's true. That's where the resilience comes
that's
in.
right. After your book goes viral, you become a #1 bestseller. All I want to know is where you be speaking next.
Well, I'm going to be prayerful because I do want the story to get out. And I did make that commitment to my son. You were asking me to talk about the children.
Yes.
I'm going to say a quote that I love, and I used it when I was doing teacher training. It's an African proverb that says, "A child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth."
I love
And
that.
what it is saying is that when a society marginalizes, neglects, or fails to nurture its youth, these individuals may eventually lash out in destructive ways simply to demand attention, connection, and a sense of belonging. So we just had a takeover at 57th Street Beach, where I live. And I listened to some of the comments that the people made about it. And I'm not condoning it, but I do have to go back to saying, when our children feel they're not loved by the village, they'll burn it down to feel its warmth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have to be, and in some cases, I guess we always say they feel a sense of entitlement, but that's not always the case.
That's not always the case.
Right.
And no, I think that our children, and those are the children that I worked with, have many systems that have failed them.
Yes.
And we're now seeing the residue from that.
Absolutely. Now, do you think that one of the issues, and I always say this, is that we have so many, more or less, babies raising babies.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many young people having children that don't really and truly know the essence of what it takes to raise children.
Or the struggle that we had to go through.
The what?
Or the struggle that we had to go through, like your story.
And raising
Right.
children.
I think that we are. And you know what? I think there's many things we've lost. My grandmother married at 18 when I was looking back and had 5 children. I think that now our family structure is broken. First of all, the grandmothers now are 35.
Yeah.
Some of them. So we don't have I always say we don't have big mama who's there. So much of our anchor, and I think that structure, for many reasons, has gone. And when we look back, and when I even talk to people now, when we look at what we had, much of our structure and things we had in place to survive.
That's true. That's
Right.
very true. Because I know me, I was a young grandmother, and
Right.
I was always very whatever my grandchildren needed. If my daughter ran into a snag, I was always financially take my daughter to describe it, always. And then it was a couple of my first grandchild. He was with me a lot, but I wasn't one of those grandmothers, and I owned that. I wasn't one that was sitting rocking no babies that my daughter decided to have a bunch of children. I just wasn't. I loved my grandchildren. I did a lot for them, like I still do. But I just wasn't, and it takes Maria to describe it. I wasn't one sitting, rocking, and babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. I was a young grandmother, and in that case, a lot of times that it just doesn't happen. But we love our children.
Yeah, but sometimes challenges forces you to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
In order to create your own survival mechanism.
Yeah, you have to do that.
And I think that's what we had even when my dad went to, as much as he fought for integration and all of that in his later years, and he died in 93, he said integration was good in some ways, but it was one of the worst things that happened to us in other ways.
It was.
Yeah, and he talked about financially the things that we lost and we had. And when I think about it, our community in Paducah, where we had our own doctors who lived in the community and our own pharmacists and grocery stores, and we lost that. And I think we lost the values that we had as family to a degree.
I agree with that, really.
Yeah.
It's a major difference. And then, you know, like when the insurance man, I remember when the insurance man came around and
segregation was not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was the unequal part that hurts.
Yeah.
The segregation was not that bad.
Yeah. But it was.
And also the integrating, we would talk about how we would fight to eat in the white restaurants. But the finances weren't reciprocal. People weren't coming to our restaurants or staying in our hotels. So the economic road, for the most part, went one way.
Yeah. And that we know that to be a fact.
And we weren't fighting because the food was better.
Right.
Yeah.
It was not.
Yeah.
No, we thought, well, I think it's like we felt we should be able to do what everybody else did. And by law, we should. I'm not saying that the laws that got rid of public accommodation segregation were bad, but I'm just saying they weren't equal.
Yeah, and that's what
the
Ed was saying.
reciprocity wasn't there.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's a problem, and it's still in there for real.
No, it's not.
Now, one of the things that we want to catch, because this time is going by fast, you're going to have to come on again, too. Is
next
that
time I would love to come in person, actually.
That's what I'm going to have you do next time, so everybody can see that pretty lady right that I've been talking about. I want you to talk about your philosophy, because I was already saying before you came on that you fit my philosophy to a T, that age is nothing but a number. And so as long as you can walk, talk, and breathe, you keep it moving. And I can see that you keep it moving. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about the super aging research and your association with the University of Chicago.
Okay. There's another very quick positive about the University of Chicago, because I live in the community where it is. They have one program that they call, it's an intergenerational learning program. And I just took an 8-week class on the life of Stevie Wonder, taught by Mr. Green, who actually was the son of Dr. Green from Little Rock 9. I didn't know that all at the time. They allowed me to talk about my book. That was an amazing experience.
Why, no.
And the Super Agers program is, Super Agers are defined as people 80 and over who have memory abilities 20 to 30 years younger than they are. And they are active. And there were some, I listed some things that I think keep people active and young. Number one, of course, is you got to stay active, and you have to have young friends. When I was in this intergenerational class at USC, it was wonderful because the young people didn't think that we wanted to be bothered with them in general, and we think that they don't want to be bothered with us. So the exchange was an amazing one. And our common focus was music, because it was Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
And then I think that what we have to learn to do, and this goes into my grief work, we have to accept the things we cannot change. With my son's death, I can't rewrite that ending. All I can do is to make his life have been something that I can be proud of.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I'd like for you to speak a little bit about your grief counseling and how you're able to, help people in that area of loss.
When my son died, I knew that I needed some help. So I was trying to find a therapist who had specialized in grief. I couldn't. I was living in Atlanta. I came back here and found the Grief Recovery Institute, which is in Idaho, by the way. But they have an excellent program, I felt. I got trained in it. And I thought that this devastating loss that I had, I could use my pain to help somebody else, especially parents that have lost children. That has been my main focus. And I've been conducting classes at St. Benedict, the African Church in Inglewood, and they have gone well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now go on. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
No,
Billy.
I was going to say that I became certified, and I have been conducting classes at St. Benedict, the African Church, with Father Jones in Inglewood, and they have gone well. I do group classes on grief and individual. And one of the things that's so missing when we talk about our children and what they don't have, the the number of therapists, mental health people is still extremely low in our communities.
Now that and then do you find that it is so many people and I know you see them on the streets and all of that. It is the mental health is just it seemed like it is just running rapid.
It is running rapid, and then
It's
the
heartbreaking.
others are those on the street are those that they should never have closed the clinics and places where they were staying. But
Yes.
there are so many people, from our young people to our very old people, walking around with unresolved grief. And that
Yes.
is one of the things that I focus on in my workshops. Young people have, because the young people now, when I was interim principal for a minute, I went in a wood shopping class. I said, how many of you in here have lost a friend to violence? Every hand in that room went up. These are young people walking around with grief that they have nobody to talk to many times and nowhere to place the grief. Older people who are aging, who have buried their children, who are ill, they also have grief.
Yes.
That sounds like a field that needs to be explored.
It absolutely does need to be
I mean,
explored.
especially in our neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like someone should get a government grant in order to fill that void. And,
Yes,
and,
and that is
and
what,
that,
when I took the class when Father Jones asked me to bring the class to St. Benedict at 69th and Stewart, it was so humbling because the people were so appreciative that there was a program that was actually brought to them.
Hmm. Yeah, because that is something, and I think that's where a lot of especially when you talk about the young people that have witnessed and their close friends or whatever dying through
Yes,
violence,
yes,
and so they're carrying a lot of anger with inside too. I think.
absolutely,
they,
Yeah.
absolutely.
they should be the first patients, but as a society of people, we all need that help.
I think that
And,
we all need that help.
and
And
we
Yeah.
they
want to,
are, when we talk about a couple of the people that I've had in my classes from St. Benedict were previously incarcerated. And I feel very strongly that some type of program like this, mine or some other, needs to be in every one of the jails, or especially where young people are, because it's a lot of times grief put them in jail, and grief will put them right back in when they get out if they don't resolve it.
That's right.
it's a mental health issue
Yeah.
Yes,
for everyone.
Yeah, and
yes,
yeah,
it
because if you have anger, and grief it can be very deep. Because I know, I lost my father while I was I lived in Israel for 2 years, and I lost my dad while I was there, And I couldn't come back because the philosophy was let the dead bury the dead.
Wow.
And that just really kind of worked on me. I did go to Landmark, like I was sharing with you, and
Right.
that helped me
Right.
somewhat. But those things
Right.
still, you know, and I still was young. And I think that those type of things, if you don't really, you know, we can pray and we can say this and say that we're over
Right.
things, but in the
Right.
depths of our souls, that still bothers you. Because I had my dad, I was his baby. I was
Mm-hmm.
you know, a good daughter, and it just I think it still kind of wears on me even today. So it's something that I have to work with. But we
It
are
does. I was going to say I've done Callahan Funeral Home. I don't know whether you're familiar with it or not. I have done some online workshops with them. I have an excellent program called Grief on the Holidays that I do sometimes.
Okay, well, that'll be another thing that you can share with us too. And unfortunately, our time is up.
That went fast.
It didn't
Thank
it
you
go
so
fast, and we just love you, Billy. I'm so glad. Again, we're talking with Billie Jean Gray, who has written a memoir of race, resilience, loss, and faith. And it is from a woman who has lived, and from everything that she shared with us this evening, you can tell that she has truly lived the life that we have only read about. And then when we get this book, I want everybody, again, when it comes out, we are going to have you live right here in our studio to be able to go with different parts of you know, intricate parts that we really want you to be able to share. But I'm so glad that you had an opportunity to join us here at Intellectual Radio with Here's the Life with Zemrah and Ed. You have been a joy, a blessing to us, and we really want to get you here to talk about a little bit more about that grief too. That would be a real good segment.
Oh yes, I have several things, and thank both of you for having me come on today, because I just want people to hear how we can all have a better, happier, and joyous life.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, sweetie, and you have a good rest of your evening.
Okay, Billy. Billy, just keep telling your story.
Thank you so much.
All right, sweetie. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So you heard everything right here at Intellectual Radio with Zemrah and Ed. We wish her so many blessings, and we definitely are going to have her here live in the studio, because we cannot forget what people have gone through. And this story, I mean, she was young going through all of this. So, hey, that was a wonderful segment. Again, I thank her for joining us here, and we hope that you enjoyed this segment. If you have any questions or anything, please contact me at Zemrah1@yahoo.com. And you can always call me at 708-536-3228. I want you to make some comments. Tell people to go to IntellectualRadio.com and pull up Here's the Life with Zemrah and Ed. And look at comment. And we always ask you to comment on our segments and let us know that you're watching and that you enjoy our food for thought. We always say here at Intellectual Radio, we are feeding the brain. So we hope you enjoyed this evening. Again, thank you, Billy, for joining us. Have a good evening.
Love is possible. Love